Welcome to video 2 of animating the Pacman character series. So let's start. Basically in exercise 1 what we achieved was we had created a window and we had set the icon of the window. We used two classes, JFrame and image icon class, and this is what we created in video 1. Now in second exercise our goal would be to add a panel to the window and draw Pacman images on that. So panel is a container in Java on which we can write our custom draw method. Basically we can write code to move the Pacman character around. So let's start with, this is the code we had written in video 1. So now what we essentially want to do is we want to add a panel on our JFrame that we have created. So let me go ahead and add a panel class. So we'll say class Pacman panel, and we'll be inheriting from JPanel class, and JPanel is a class which is defined in Java x.swing package. So now we have created a Pacman panel class which is extending JPanel, so we can create an object of Pacman panel class and we can add that onto our JFrame. So we call it PNL equals new Pacman panel, and we say j.add PNL. So this way we are creating object of our custom panel class and we are adding it on JFrame. Now before adding, let's set the background color of it. So panel gives us a set background method to which we can pass instance of color class. So color is a class which is defined again in java.awt package. So we import that, and now we can use, let's go ahead and set the background color as yellow. So now we have a panel created. We change the background color of the panel and we added the panel onto our JFrame. Now let's try to run our program. So we first compile it. Since we are going to use the compilation and execution commands again and again, so let's do one thing. Let's define a batch file in which we can put these series of commands so that we don't have to type them again and again. So first command is to compile, second is to run, and let me also delete class files so that whenever we are editing our source code, then we can have a clean directory which has only Java files for us. So we save it and close it. Now if I do run.cmd, it's going to run the three sequence of commands step by step. So right now since our exe is running, it's stuck on the second command. Once we close it, the third command will run and .class file will be deleted. So we have achieved adding a panel, and now on this panel we are ready to provide our method to draw images. So now next thing that we want to do is we want to load the image and we want to show that image on the panel. So let's define a constructor of Pacman panel class so that in the constructor we can load the image. So this is the default constructor we are creating, and now we are going to need an object of a class called buffered image. So let's say this is the object which will load the image from the hard disk, and we also need the path to that image. So let's define another variable, string image path, and we can make it final because this is going to be a constant thing, and we can also mark it static because the value of this variable is not going to change per object instance. So this will be a fixed path. So let me show you the image that we are going to load. So this is called a sprite, where it consists of multiple images together, and our buffered image is going to load this entire image, and later on we'll see how we can select images one by one out of the buffer image object. So for now, Pacman image is the file path that we are going to give. So you can also see this is a PNG file, so that's the extension we want to specify. So we can say, let me copy the name, pacman.png. So this is the image we want to load, and we want to load in buffered image object. Now buffered image is a class which is defined in java.awt.image package. So we can write buffered image, we are importing that. Now we want to write code to load the image. So basically for loading the image, we will write code like img is equal to, there is another class called image.io which has a read method. We are going to use that method to read the image which is specified in the image path. Now image.io, it takes the instance of a file class which will take the image path, and that's how we are going to get our buffered image. So we have added two more classes, image.io and file class. So for that again we'll have to import statements java.io.file, and image.io is defined in javax.image.io.image.io. Now another thing to pay attention to is image.io.read method, it throws exception which is a checked exception. So checked exceptions are those which need to be checked at compile time. So in case we don't put a try catch around this, then compiler is not going to allow us to compile this code. So if we try to compile this code right now, so we can say java c pacman demo, you'll notice it says unreported exception, IO exception, it must be caught, because IO exception is a type of checked exception which we cannot ignore, and we have to handle, either we have to catch it or we have to add a throw statement for it. So now let's put a try catch around this statement so that we can compile our code. IO exception, or we can also specify the superclass of IO exception which is E. So let's go ahead and add that, and we add a message also, exception in loading image. So in case exception happens, we'll know that some exception has occurred. So we are printing the exception here using toString method of exception. Fine. So after this statement, our image will be loaded, and the data member img of this class will have that image. Now how do we display this image on the panel? So to display the image, we'll have to override a method of JPanel class. So JPanel class provides a method called public void paint. Paint is a method that gets called whenever we resize the form or whenever we call the repaint. Basically whenever we want to draw something on the surface of panel, the paint method is called on that. So from this method, since our class is inheriting from JPanel, so we want to first call the superclass method before putting any logic of our own. Now once the paint is called, we have called the superclass method. After that, we really want to draw the image that we have loaded from the disk. So let's go ahead and say g dot. So this graphics object that we get, that has a draw image method to which we can give our image object. Then we have to give the x and y coordinates where this image should be drawn. So for now, let's give x50, y50, and the last parameter we can specify as null for now. And optionally, we can also provide an annotation here, override, so that it tells to compiler that we are trying to override a method paint, and in case there is any spelling mistake in this name, compiler will automatically tell us that actually we are not overriding, we are supplying some of our own method. So this is not mandatory, but this is the best practice to put here. So with this, if we try to run, let's see a series of actions that will happen. So we create a panel object using default constructor. In default constructor, we are going to load buffered image. So once the image is loaded, after that, whenever we call set visible true on our JPanel, what is going to happen? JPanel is going to ask its child JFrame is going to ask its child JPanel to paint itself, and in paint we are going to draw the image. So let's save the code and let's see if we have missed any other import statement. We are using graphics class here, which is again in java.awt package. So let's add an import statement for that also. Now our code should be good to compile. So let's call run.cmd. Our code is compiled, and as we can see, the full image is being drawn on the surface. Now since we don't want to show the complete image, so what we can do is we can extract a sub part of the image. So the image that we have loaded, this is the complete image we are drawing for now. So buffered image object, it also provides us a way to extract only sub part of it. So basically we can extract the first image by specifying its x and y coordinates, which is the starting point of the rectangle, and then we can specify the width and the height. So since each of these images, they are 30 pixels wide and 30 pixels in height, so what we can do is we can call a method img.getSubImage. We have to provide x and y, which is 0, 0, and the width and height, since they are of 30, so let me give something little less than 30 so that we don't go across the boundaries of the image. So now if we go ahead and give it a run, we can see only sub portion of the image is drawn. So with this we have achieved what we wanted to in second exercise. Basically we have added a panel and we have drawn a Pacman image, and during this we have used a panel and we have used a color. Along with that we have used buffered image class. For buffered image loading we also needed image IO and file classes. So that's all we have added. And after that we have used a graphics class to draw the image on the panel surface. So that's all for this video. In next video we are going to take a look at animating this image. So right now the image we are seeing, it's a static image. So in next we'll animate it and we'll see the mouth of Pacman character as opening and closing.